Hello, Brandon Bennett. How are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. Very good to have you here. I'm glad that we can finally start this podcast. Yeah. Thanks for coming over. Love to talk and learn about real estate with you. To get started, how did you get started with real estate, man? Tell me a little more about your history.
Yeah, so I started off when I was in college and in grad school. I originally wanted to go do something called industrial psychology. So it was basically like study the workplace. I wanted to go be a consultant. I wanted to go do all this stuff in like the corporate HR world. And like a lot of people, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. My brother at the time was listening to a Bigger Pockets podcast. He's like, hey, you should listen to what these guys have to say. So learning about real estate. So I kind of got bit by the bug when I was like 21, and I started reading about it quite a bit. And then when I was halfway through graduate school in a 2-year program, I got really serious about buying my first property. And I wanted a house hack, but I wasn't willing to buy a property in the area that I was going to school. So I ended up finding a family friend who wanted to get into real estate. He was in his mid-40s at the time. He had a ton of money. He just hadn't eaten time. And I said, hey, I'll put the sweat equity in. Just believe in me, trust me, let's go buy a duplex. So that was the first deal that I got into. We bought like a $60,000 duplex in my hometown, and we still own it today, which is cool. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And where are you from again?
I'm from Elyria. So Elyria, Ohio, about 30 to 40 minutes west of Cleveland.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me, guide me through this first deal then. How old were you back then?
I was 21, 22 maybe,
Okay.
when we bought the property.
And you just got the itch for real estate
Yeah.
after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yeah.
which is a very common story. And yeah, classic.
Yeah.
And you bought the house, $60K. Your sweat equity, what was it? Was it doing the renovations in the house? Was it ending the deal, closing it?
So at the time, I worked with a real estate agent to help find the property. So I basically told Bob, is his name, my partner, and I said, hey, Bob, I'll find the property. I'll put together the scope. I'll run the renovation. Some of that I'll do the work myself. I'll contract the rest. I'll put tenants in place. All I ask is that you put all the money in front. And then once we pull all of our money out, we split it 50-50. So when we actually bought the property, I only owned like 5% of it because I only had like $2,000 to my name to put down. Mm-hmm. So I gave Bob my $2,000 just to show him that I was invested and I wanted to get started in real estate. So the rest of my equity came from executing the construction properly, getting it rented out, and then refining all of Bob's equity out. So him and I could be 50-50 partners. So I did some painting in that house. I laid some LVP flooring. I'm not Andy like you, so like I usually have to hire a lot of that stuff out. But this property was good because I got to really learn what it was like to be behind the hammer and like really get an appreciation for like how hard that stuff is.
Yeah.
I think it helps you also, and you know this super well, is it makes it easier to manage people that are doing work for you as well.
Yeah.
I'm not a master carpenter or construction person at all, but doing it on that first house gave me such an appreciation for like knowing how to manage construction and like where things can go wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what were like some of the first challenges you encountered into that flip? Like, because I'm assuming, first time for everyone is very hectic, right?
Yeah.
You're stumbling upon all these unexpected problems. What were some of your biggest learnings then?
Yeah, so in this property in particular, the biggest one was I put together a scope of work that I think was like $12,000, right? And I was like, man, here's my cost from Home Depot, here's my cost from Lowe's, and like I bid out all the jobs. I thought I was doing everything right. The thing that I just didn't know, or maybe underestimated, is how much goes wrong in real estate until you start opening up some walls and looking behind the corner or looking around the corner.
The Pandora box.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Pandora's box of problems. So I think we ended up spending $25,000 in a renovation. So like double. It was only 10, 12 grand extra, so nothing too crazy. But luckily we bought the property at such a low price that we had a ton of margin. We had a ton of room. So we bought it for 60. We put in 25, so we were like 85K all in. It appraised around 120, so we were able to pull all of our cash out once we had it rented, and that helped me do the proof of concept with Bob, where he was like, okay, you're a 22-year-old kid. I trust that you can do this. Let's do it again. And I bought 3 other properties with Bob over the next like year and a half, 2 years, kind of under that same model.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love how, you brought in what you had at the time, which was the sweat equity and, a little bit of cash and a lot of determination, which I feel like was the key factor to get yourself started on that. Which is really cool story. I feel like this is what we're trying to encourage here is for more people to be able to do and take that first step, because if it's definitely the hardest.
Yeah.
The first step, I feel like it's definitely the hardest with anything. Awesome. So fast forward now, how many years? 4 years into real estate?
Yeah, I want to say, so we incorporated in 2018, so 5 years now.
5 years now. And now you work with Fund That Flip.
I do, yeah.
Which it's a company I'm very keen of and loves all the people that I met from there.
Great people.
Great people. Yeah. What role do you play in your company right now?
Yeah, so I'm currently the VP of Revenue, so I kind of help on any role in the company that is customer facing, right? So whether that's sales, whether that's our loan closing team, the servicing team. So most of our production teams that are on the phone with customers and meeting with customers face to face. I'm kind of behind the scenes, helping making sure that we're, pointed in the right direction, that our teams are, they have all the tools they need to be successful. So I started at the company about 3.5 years ago. I started in the underwriting team. So I actually was doing the same role that our friend Ryan at Fund That Flip does now. And I then, through COVID and through all these other like market changes that we experience, I jumped through a couple different roles. Found my way over to sales, and I really love the sales side. And so I've been on the sales team, and it really focused probably 60% of my day now to sales for the last year and a half.
That's awesome. Yeah. Man, this has been this has been a fun one. Thank you for being so understanding with us. We are bootstrapping here.
It'll be good back.
It'll be a good background, right? I'll laugh about this in 20 years.
Oh,
that's no
what? Like 2 weeks.
2 weeks, right? Okay, awesome. Well, then tell me then, how does your job enables you to feel your passion then for real estate? You live and breathe real estate. It's your job. You're doing it on the side. You're doing it full time.
Yeah. So really, the reason I got the job at Fund That Flip, so I think I owned 3 rental properties before I joined Fund That Flip, and I graduated my degree in industrial psychology. All my peers were getting jobs doing these different corporate consulting roles, and I considered it. But I was looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, man, like that's not my passion. Like I want to do real estate. And I made a decision in that moment. I said, I'm either going to be an industrial psychologist for a real estate company, or I'm just going to scrap that. I'm going to work for a real estate company in general, right? So I made the decision to work for Fund That Flip because I wanted to be surrounded by people, both coworkers and the customers that we serve, that do this for a living. And once I think it would motivate me, but 2, I just wanted to learn. I wanted to be around people. There's an expression that I really like where it's like, hang around people that make the impossible look like a Tuesday afternoon, right? So like I want to hang around people who like it's the normal for them to own 100 rentals units, and for me that'd be like beyond my wildest dreams right now, right? So now that I've been at the company for 3.5 years, especially being on the sales team, I get to basically have a podcast every single day at work, right? Because I'm on the phone with the bar for 30 minutes, like, hey, tell me about your business. That was my job. I had to qualify them. I had to understand what they needed, and I had to figure out what do we have that I can sell to them that helps their business. And it's the same thing you and I are doing right now.
Yeah.
So I basically got to do, however many calls a week that I had, I basically got to run a mini podcast with all these different developers from all over the country. So like I talked to developers from Charleston, South Carolina, Miami, Florida, Boston, Mass, like all over the country. And I think I just learned a ton of different strategies from different developers on, things to consider. And even right now, so the one property that you and I looked at together, I have no new construction experience at all. And I'm not experienced there in any capacity, but there's a couple people that I work with really closely on that flip that's their bread and butter. So like just knowing that I have them in my network, it gives me a little bit more confidence to kind of jump off the ledge and give it a shot.
absolutely. Learn from other people's mistakes is like such a giant part of all of this process. And I mean, congrats for doing that, by the way. The house does deserve to be into the ground.
Yeah.
It needs a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And from talking with all of these people, then you get to talk with developers, flippers, people who are doing burst strategies, all kinds of strategies. What do you think are some common traits that you find amongst all these people?
Yeah. So I think the most core common trait is all of these people bet on themselves, and they bet on themselves continuously, right? I think they don't always go into the scenario with all the answers. What they're betting on is, hey, I'm going to be resourceful enough to figure this out and make it work. And I found myself over my 4-year real estate career getting a little bit apprehensive, a little bit anxious, a little bit complacent even, of like, hey, I bought 3 properties this year, I don't need to do anything else. And I think being around, other developers that do that so consistently, I've realized that they're just saying, hey, I'm going to bet on Brendan, and Brendan's going to figure it out. And over time, you prove yourself right. And I think that's what's really like inspiring about it.
Absolutely. The bet on yourself and prove yourself right.
Yeah.
I feel like that resonates with me a lot.
Yeah. So for a personality trait, I think that's definitely one. I think another thing is a lot of the people that, I talked to through Fund That Flipping Borrowers, I think they have a very strong, it might sound corny, but I think it's true. I think they have a very strong why. Like they've figured out what motivates them. They have a purpose for wanting financial freedom, success in real estate, all these things. And they don't waver from it, right? So like if their mission is, hey, I want to spend, Wednesday afternoons with my kids and I don't have to be at work, they keep that as top of mind, and they're really focused on making sure that happens. So I think, they bet on themselves, but they also are very clear on what they want, and they make sure that they get it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hello, Salami. You're not invited on this podcast, Salami. Oh my God. Got the whole family here today, the reunion on the Tuesday afternoon. That's awesome. I think that that's a big part of real estate, why it's so attractive to so many people, is because it gives you the freedom, right?
Yeah.
It's the freedom that comes from it. Ceci, would you help me out and be so kind as to take this beautiful animal out of here? Salami. Thank you. All right, bootstrapping a little here. Like we're good. Awesome. Wait, where was I again? It's okay. I have other questions.
Sorry.
Coming back to then your first few deals and stepping into real estate, you partner up with someone and you brought in the sweat equity. I heard that you are very into house hacking.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little more about it?
I love house hacking, man. And anyone that I meet, I think I'm up to like 4 friends and family members where I have them house hacking at this point.
Oh my God, I love that.
And anyone that I talk to that I try to get them to house hack, they might say no right now, but my brother right now, I'm talking to him about trying to get into it. So yes, I love house hacking. I think that it's for people who maybe don't think real estate's going to be their bread and butter, or for people who are apprehensive to jump in to owning like a true rental property. It's real estate investing on training wheels, and it makes it really, really easy, right? So I've done it 4 times where I bought a duplex, and there's been several times where I've had roommates in that same duplex unit and then in the unit below me or above me. So like we did like ultra house hacking where I was renting out every single unit possible, really try to minimize my cash out of pocket. So, this is when I was working a job before Fund That Flip where I was making, I think like 35 grand a year at the time, right? I was working for a general contractor, doing some like office admin type work, and I needed to save as much money as I possibly could. So house hacking was a way for me to do that, right? I bought a house. It was like $110,000 duplex in a kind of a suburb around where I grew up. and mortgage payment, I think it was like $1,000. So we rented the upstairs unit for $1,200. We rented out the other spare bedrooms in our unit for $300. So we were making, $1,500 on $1,000 mortgage payment, and we're like 22 years old. And we're like, man, this is really awesome.
Right.
We're living for free. Yeah, we're living for free. I'm living with my best friend at the time. My friend and I partnered together on our first 2 duplexes that we did. So, big proponent of house hacking. I think there's a ton of different ways that people can house hack. You can do single family duplex. There's a lot of different strategies. Personally in the Cleveland area, there's a ton of duplexes that are available. So I did 3 duplexes, and then I finished off with a triplex. This is my 4th one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks.
And for those who don't know, house hacking is basically you buy a house, you live in one of the units, rent out the other ones. How did you hear about house hacking?
It was through Bigger Pockets. I think Brandon Turner and David Green, I want to say those two kind of like coined the term. But I read Craig Curelop's book, House Hacking Strategies, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. I read that on a plane ride home from somewhere I was coming from, and I just remember some of the principles, like the things I was telling myself in my head that like I wouldn't be able to figure out. The book answered those questions for me, and I'm like, okay, I feel confident, like I should. And then when I landed and I got home, I got in touch with my agent, and I started making offers, and then got one accepted.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Bigger Pockets podcast, which I'm also a big fan of.
Yep.
You mentioned books. What are other ways or your main ways of acquiring your current knowledge, right?
Yeah. I think podcasts are huge. So I listen to a good amount of podcasts, Bigger Pockets. I try to listen to guests that come on the Bigger Pockets podcast and try to, go down a rabbit hole of, can I consume more content that they have elsewhere? So Jesse Vasquez is a big name in the midterm rental space, and he was on the Bigger Pockets podcast. That's where I discovered him. He has his own subset of podcasts about midterm rentals, and the Landlord Diaries is a podcast by Furnish Finder, and they have a ton of really good content as well. So I'm really focused on consuming content that way. I think beyond that, I've started to invest a lot more money in going to conferences and doing different things like that. And my company, it's great. Part of the bonus of working for a real estate company is they'll send me to these conferences as part of my job as someone in the sales business development team. So they actually paid for me to go to the Bigger Pockets conference in
That's awesome.
October. So I got to go as like a student of real estate and go learn, but I also got to go as an employee of Fund That Flip and learn that way. So really for me, the biggest ways that I learn, it's podcasting. I think it's also the conversations that I'm having with our customers, and then any opportunity I have to like talk to someone like yourself that's in real estate. I think I've already learned a lot from you and from the other local Cleveland real estate investors. You'll pick up something from them every time you talk to them. So I think I like to learn from people more than anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like from people, then you can get the real, like, it's in front of you, right? It's not just in a book. It's not in a podcast where someone is talking. It's like, this person that is just like me has done all of these things. Why can't I? Right?
Yep.
So I feel like it allows you to go ahead and try and do these things, which it's pretty incredible. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I, by the way, love the networking events that you guys host. It's really incredible.
It's been really awesome. So for those guys listening in Cleveland, we host an event for real estate investors and contractors. And, again, we did it as part of this drive to grow business for Fund That Flip. But I think all of us that attend, we're all real estate junkies ourselves. So Jake, Jimmy, myself, all of us that are going, we're going with the Fund That Flip shirt on, but like we're there because we just love real estate and we want to be around people that are in it every day and learn from them and see what they're doing.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'd love to get a little bit deeper here and ask more specific questions. I heard that you really love systems and market analysis. So how does your company utilize this data to do market analysis?
Yeah, so for us, the big 3 things that we really look for to figure out like what's a good market for Fund That Flip to operate in, it's going to be where is there population growth, job growth, and home price appreciation, or some combination of the 3, right? We want to make sure that from a macro level, the economies and whatever market that we're looking at is really, really strong.
Would you say these are the three key factors of indicating a growing market?
I would say for us, it's kind of how we look at it. We try to use this macro data to make sure that we're making a really good decision. And we use a bunch of different, more specific things to determine if we're going to go into the market or not. So if something passes the criteria check for home price appreciation, job growth, and population growth, we then say, can we be competitive there? Which of our competitors are in that market already? How much of the market share do they own? So we subscribe to this data set produced by Forecasa, and they help tell us how many originators are in each city and how much business each of us do. So we leverage that market data to figure out where we go next. So we just hired someone in Dallas, Texas, and we did that by going through this process of making sure that we felt good about the home values, the job growth, population growth, and also we thought that we had a really good product market fit. And while there's other good lenders in that area, we know the service we provide, so we feel confident that if we go into the market, we'll have some success.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you're trying to stay competitive within that market, and looking at these will allow you to be more confident stepping into. How many markets you guys have been expanding to?
So right now we lend in, I think it's 35 or 37 states. I can't remember which one it is, one of those two. But we run our business in a really interesting way where most hard money, private money, whatever money you want to call them, originators, they typically don't have an outside sales team. Some of them do, but majority of them do not. So we have a sales rep in every major city that we really want to drive business. So we have like 15 of them total up and down the East Coast and over in Texas. And that really helps us too. So beyond all of the data nerd stuff, these guys and gals that we hire to run these markets for us, they also give us information of like, hey, I'm hearing at the local RIA that this neighborhood's going downhill, or like, hey, I heard there's a new business going in over in this neighborhood, property values are going to go up. So we rely on that like finger on the pulse from these territory managers that live in each of these markets to help us, do we hit the gas or do we hit the brake? Like, how do we want to look at developing that market?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you have an overall picture of the market analysis, and you have almost like a in person, like a spy there for you, right?
Yeah, we have someone who's like a local ambassador for Fund That Flip, right? And they're directly connected to all of the 200 plus employees in Cleveland, and their job is to be an extension of our Cleveland office in your local area, basically.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What are some of the challenges you faced in your real estate career?
My personal career.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, I think for me, I'm very goal oriented. I'm very driven. I set a goal when I was 22 when I first got started in this that I was going to own 50 rental properties by the time that I was, I think 25 is the goal that I set. Right. So I'm 27 now. I have 20 units. So nothing to be ashamed of, but like I'm short of that goal. I think part of the struggle for me, it's less about the actual operating of real estate. 'Cause I think, not that I'm perfect there by any means, but I don't really think that's what's holding my business back. A lot of it is focusing on the right things, knowing what to say no to, and also just having the right mindset around growth. So like I said, I think there's been many times where I've looked around and I've seen all these developers that we work with who are younger than me, same age, older, that were doing triple the volume that I'm doing. It's very, very easy to get into that, like, man, those guys are scaling so quickly, like, what am I doing wrong kind of mindset. So I think the last 6 months especially, I've started to really just focus on what do I care about? What am I trying to drive? Like, what are my core focus areas? So my biggest challenge in my business has been like getting out of my own way, right? Just saying like, hey, I need to talk myself off the ledge. I'm doing fine. The only person I have to compare myself to is me a year ago, right? And I can still achieve really great things by doing that. But I got stuck in this like analysis paralysis of like, man, everyone around me's so successful. How do I match that level of success? And it's not always about that. That's what I learned.
Yeah, that comparison game is real and strong, and it's impossible, right? Because again, like you said, you can only compare yourself to yourself because no one else had your story.
Yeah, and I'm sure, listen, I would have killed to have what I have now like 2 years ago, right? So like I'm 25-year-old Brennan wouldn't be happy with where 27-year-old Brennan is now, but I think it's easy to get on the other side of that perspective. So I think keeping a really healthy perspective is important. More tactically, I think I used to have this mindset that it was all about the number of doors that you owned. So, because I don't do flips. I don't really sell any real estate. Anything that I buy, I try to keep for, I haven't sold a property yet, actually. So, the goal used to be, can I get as many units as possible? And that was my sign of success. But I realized like, that's really not that important. Like if my goal is, monthly cash flow, well, it'd be smarter to do that with 20 properties than with 100, right? You have less coordination, you have less contractors to manage, you have less tenants to deal with, less variables to go wrong. So I started to pivot my strategy around how do I get $200 profit per door per month, and I need to buy 100 units to retire my day job. So I'm now doing Airbnb. I'm looking to buy a long distance Airbnb in Charleston, South Carolina the next 8 months. I'm doing midterm rentals in Cleveland as well. So I'm trying to look at all these different ways to maximize that dollar amount per unit, so I don't have to buy 50 rentals to reach like that level of success that I'm looking for.
That's awesome. So is that how you would approach diversifying your portfolio?
I think so, yeah. So across the 20 units that I own now, 16 are long-term, 3 are mid-term, and 1 is short-term. And I think that I'll continue to try to like put a blend. I'm not so bullish in any one category that I want to go all out with that. But luckily, the cool thing about owning duplexes, you can experiment, right? I could do long-term on the top floor and an Airbnb or midterm on the short floor. So I can kind of mix and match a little bit, which is cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love what you mentioned about you're a very goal-oriented person.
Yeah.
Is there a specific way that you like setting your goals?
Yeah. So the shout out to my friend Josh. Josh, if you're listening to this, kudos to you. Josh and I for the last 2 years have gotten together on a annual and quarterly basis to set goals with each other.
Oh, wow.
And kind of hold each other accountable. So
I love that.
we got to make it an evening. We get some bourbon. We kind of hang out. We make it kind of a guy's night. But the goal is, Josh and I are kind of at a similar stage in our careers, a similar stage in our wealth and our journey to, reach financial freedom. And I set goals, and Josh is essentially on my board of directors for my life, right? So Josh will say, hey, this goal that you set for real estate, you're sandbagging. You can do better than that. Or, hey, how are you going to hit that goal? And we do quarterly check-ins too, where we say, okay, Brennan, you told me that you were going to acquire 3 properties by the end of this year. How many offers have you made so far? How many are you under contract? So I think setting goals, I do it very intentionally, and I not as good as I should be about setting like 3 to 5 year goals. I've got it pretty dialed in to set 1 year goals and like monthly and quarterly goals. But having that accountability partner and my friend, I think it's been extremely helpful because you have someone else slugging through it with you. And if you lose motivation, you have that next quarterly meeting coming up to remind you. And now that I'm in a leadership role at Fund That Flip, I'm part of those meetings at Fund That Flip where we have quarterly budgeting meetings. We talk to the board of directors. So like I'm taking a lot of those principles that I'm learning on how to be a leader at Fund That Flip, and I'm just applying it to my own personal finances in my life.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm almost jealous of having an accountability partner. I feel like that's something I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. And I would recommend, I forgot where I read this, but I think this is like really profound. It says, find one person who can mentor you, find one person who's even to where you're at in like life stage, who could be your accountability partner, and find one person to elevate, to mentor, right? So if you think about it, you're holding another person accountable. You're kind of giving back to someone else who maybe has never purchased a property. They've never house hacked. They need help getting started. All the while, someone who's a little bit above you is helping you out, right? So I think I've done a good job of, I have a group of people that I've been helping out. I have a really good peer group. The next stage of my development is I want to find a really great mentor to help me kind of elevate beyond where I'm at now.
I love that.
Yeah.
You mentioned the goals that are like X amount of units, and then your friend said, have you put X amount of offers?
Yeah.
So I feel like one is input,
Yeah.
and the other one is output. Do you make that difference as well? Do you have like okay, today I'm making X amount of calls because I want X amount of units.
Yeah, usually what I'll try to do is I'll make my annual goals outcome goals, and my quarterly goals will be input goals to help get there, right? And so if my outcome goal is I want to acquire 2 properties on the year, my quarterly goal is going to be, I need to make 20 offers this quarter to be able to have a chance, because if I make 20 offers, maybe one gets accepted, and if I could replicate that every quarter, by the time the year is over, I'll have acquired 2 to 4 properties, right? So I think it's important to kind of do a mixture of both, but yeah, you can't get the output unless you have some of those input goals for sure.
And do you have any systems in place that you love?
One that I just put in, this is very like personal finance based, but there's this app called, I think it's just called Habit, or it's called Habits, where you can put the things that you want to do daily. Yeah. And I'm very numbers based. I'm very like data driven. So it's really cool because it's a personal dashboard for my life. So it's like, work out today, analyze a property today, drink however much water, whatever it is that you accomplish. But it's crazy because these very small things that you have to do daily, that all adds up to hitting your goal monthly, quarterly, annually, right? So that's one system that I just started using is, I started to really stay more diligent to like tracking what I do every day, because I think how you do one thing is how you do everything, and I think it's really important to take note of it. So
I'm a big habit tracker person.
Yeah.
So I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is something you are excited about?
Yeah. I think I'm excited. The last 3 months or so, I felt like I've really like renewed my focus. So the flip side of the coin of working a job like Fund That Flip, where it's so related to real estate, part of the tricky part is, because I love Fund That Flip so much, I pour so much time into Fund That Flip. And what I noticed that I was doing is I wasn't prioritizing my side hustle, which is my real estate, my property management, acquiring new properties. So there was a period of time for like 12 months where I was kind of a little bit motivated on the sides, but I wasn't really staying diligent. So I think that's kind of like the double-edged sword of working a job that's so awesome, like Fund That Flip, that's very closely related to what I do. It also sucks you in a little bit, right? So then you get home from work, you're like, I'll read that book tomorrow. I'll analyze that deal tomorrow. Or, hey, I really don't want to do that Reno. Like, that's going to be so much work because I have to work every day, right? Yeah. So the last 3 months, I've really been focused on getting out of that mindset. And that's when like my neighbor's house came along. There's been a couple other deals that I've been looking at. So I feel like I'm much more back in a rhythm than I was before. And I think it all starts with like the daily habits. And I really believe firmly in that. So I'm mostly excited now about nothing in specific, but just the momentum that I feel that I didn't have maybe like 6 months ago.
Man,
yeah,
love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming over.
Yeah,
I appreciate your time. Awesome. That's been great.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Cool.
Cut.
Good. We did it. I'm surprised no explosions has
That was pretty good, man. That was pretty tame.
You like it?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh man, thank you. If you like this video, feel free to smash that like button, subscribe for more content, and I appreciate you spending your time with me. Thank you. Until the next one.